Hello and welcome to the Wandering Creatives podcast. I'm your host, Allie, and joining me for today's episode is author Sarah Maragh. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me so much.
I'm pumped to have you on the pod to talk about your writing journey and how you got started with writing. And you recently published your very first book, which is insanely exciting, I bet. I imagine it was like kind of a dream come true.
Oh my Lord. It was more of a passion project. 2 years ago, I started writing it just as like catharsis for myself. And then it became something kind of like, maybe this is kind of good. Maybe I should publish this.
Maybe this could be a thing. And the title of your book is Tales of the Ouroboros. I stumbled over that one, but I got it.
Close, yeah.
So Tales of the Ouroboros, an adult fairy tale. And you're currently working, like it's going to be like the first book in a trilogy, right?
Yeah, a trilogy or like a prequel, then 2 books or something of that sort.
Nice. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's exciting. I like in another Google tab on my computer currently is like the first one and then the prequel. So I'm just like typing away at that slowly but surely.
I mean, that's gotta be so cool to like be able to finish one and then immediately hop into the next ones, or like already have like enough going on where you're like, yeah, I know where I'm going with this. I know what's happening next with my characters. Like that's gotta be just an amazing feeling.
Oh my goodness. And like trying to explain what it's about without spoiling anything for readers is so hard.
Yeah. It's like being able to pick what's it called? Like the back jacket of your book, the summaries without like giving everything away. You're like, but I want you to know what it's about.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That was actually very easy for me because it's kind of like a story within a story within a story. So I could pick which story I wanted to have on the back jacket without revealing the other stories.
Oh, nice. It's like a fairy tale inception.
yeah, basically.
That's dope. Have you always been kind of like, did you write a lot before, or were you just kind of like chilling one day and you were like, I'm
actually a whole chemistry major in college. So like It doesn't make any sense for me to be a writer or an artistic creative person at all. But I have in college and late high school years, I had a lot of like mental health struggles. So I was really just using writing as a form of like, hey, let me get emotions and like random stupid shit that's going on in my head out of my head.
Yeah. Oh, that's like a complete different side of the brain, right? That's what they always say is like,
left brain, right brain.
Yeah, you got your math and your chemistry and sciencey stuff and all the things I can't do on one side. And then the creative stuff on the other. I love that. I know that's something I really enjoy doing as well, as kind of journaling and writing for mental health, and was actually when I kind of first started writing one of my big projects, which still isn't done, but it was part of kind of the same thing, like trying to just get feelings out and put it on paper and explain how I was feeling, but not have it be me in a way. So
yeah,
that's super cool.
There's also like poetry and stuff. I do poetry as well. So I'm working on like a poetry collection as well, which is like very blatantly, these are feelings.
I love that. Oh my gosh. I'd love to get your opinion on this, but I've recently seen where folks have started pairing like their poems with photography and then including a playlist with them.
Oh,
so you can listen to music while you're reading their poetry. Like, I think that's brilliant.
I actually, like, before any of this became like an actual book concept idea thing, I actually wanted to write an album with all of the chapter titles as the song titles instead of like a book, because music is actually the soul of myself. So hopefully that'll be in the works too.
That would be so cool. Oh my gosh, so many awesome things in the works. Well, before we wander off too far into
the ether,
yes, where we're going, can you share a little bit about what your most recent book is about, Tales of Ouroboros?
It's really kind of a love story, just two wandering souls trying to make it back together, I suppose. is the long and short of it, with a bunch of characters and drama and mishap in between.
I'm a sucker for a good, like, lost souls trying to reconnect, or what's it called? Like, almost like reincarnated souls, going through time, trying to find their way to each other in every lifetime. Oh.
I think that's almost exactly what it is.
I'm like a sucker for that type of story. It pulls at my heartstrings. I also hate that I love them so much. I'm like
it's so ooey gooey.
Yeah, it's like I always say it's like I'm like an emotional, I guess, trigger warning, like an emotional cutter, because I'm like, just want to read something or watch something that's going to make me cry and make me feel things, and I'm like, why am I doing this to myself?
Oh my goodness! But there was actually a very broad and undiscovered, talked about science concept that was really like, this is a romance, but it's a science concept that was so ridiculously romantic that I had to write about it. It's called like quantum entanglement.
Oh, okay.
And so like you hear entanglement and you think like Jada Pinkett Smith, and it's like, this is stupid. This is stupid. But the science of it is like one atom splits into two, and no matter how far apart they wander away, they'll always be connected until something breaks that.
I love that. And also, I enjoy how you're bringing like your writing and your science together into one world.
I am such
perfect.
A geek.
It's perfect. And when you said quantum entanglement, I immediately thought of, what is it? The Cloverfield paradox.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So I was like, that's got quantum stuff in it, right?
Right. I think maybe. Excuse me.
That's like my only point of reference for
quantum
physics. Well, that's a lie, but anyways. And so you kind of said that you got your inspiration from kind of just like what you were going through, like mental health wise, and you just needed like an out. And then obviously there's some science in there, and probably a little like fantasy, I imagine, like science, sci-fi type stuff, fantasy mixed in there.
Definitely, yeah. There's also like it's just a mishmash of all of the things. Like if you read like the first chapter, this doesn't give anything away. It's just like inspiration for the first thing. It's very much like a religious thing because my parents are very religious. So like I was like, what can I bring into this that would bring my parents into reading this kind of? And I had my mom read it, and she was like, this is amazing. And I was like, thanks, Mom. She was the first one to buy the book.
Oh, I love that.
We love Trisha.
we love a mom that supports.
Yeah, so it's like theological, scientific, romance, all of the above.
I've picked up my copy of it. I just I'm reading like 5 books at the same time right now. So like I got you on the list. You're on the list though.
I think I didn't realize how many pages it was like in a print. So I looked at like the thing on Amazon because I haven't even bought my own book yet, but it was like 190 something pages. I was like, damn, that's a lot of pages.
That's gotta feel good though. To look at it and be like, I did that. Like I did poured myself into this project, and then like when you actually get to hold your own book in your hands, like that's going to be such an amazing feeling.
And really and truly, I didn't put any acknowledgments. I didn't put any, it's just like content. It's straight content.
That's okay though, because you can always do like a special, like a second edition release or something.
It's really funny.
Put it together differently this time. So I mean, it's called an adult fairy tale, and that makes me curious. Are there any, if you can tell us without spoiling anything, did you draw inspiration from any current like fairy tales that are fairly well known?
Not really. It's really just the concept of like a Grimm fairy tale, like different types of creatures, different types of like things like that, instead of like, this is Snow White and I'm spliffing off of Snow White. No, I didn't spliff off of Snow White. There's a vampire there. Oh, there's a werewolf over there. There's like a troll over yonder, like stuff like that.
Bringing in those different types of characters instead of doing like a retelling, which I think we see fairly often, like various retellings of fairy tales. So That's exciting.
Yeah, I think I don't want to say like, oh, I think I'm so original, but I really don't think anybody else would have done this.
I'm like getting more and more pumped to read it as we speak, because I'm like, in my brain, I'm like, whoa, like there's going to be, I don't know. It sounds like it covers a lot of different areas, and all of them make me like super pumped. So I might have to bump you up on the list and
oh my gosh,
get you in the mix.
I'm so excited for somebody to read the whole thing, because like my mom is reading it now, and she's going to be very mad because there's like very dark ideas with like the religion aspect that I very much dove right into. And she's gonna be like, what the fuck, Sarah? Like,
what is this?
What is this?
Yeah, I don't know if I ever publish the one that I started like decades ago. I do not know if I will ever tell my family about it.
Right.
Hopefully they're not listening to this podcast right now, but yeah, it's I don't know if I will ever share that with them. But so you also self-published on Amazon.
I did.
This was your first thing that you've ever published ever, right?
Yep.
How was that process? Did it go pretty smoothly?
It went very smoothly. So it was a very like, I asked a friend who had previously published with Amazon. I was like, how was Amazon? And he was like, Amazon was pretty fucking great. And I was like, nice. Okay, dope. I'm going to need at least 2 more confirmations of Amazon. And then I got like 3 more confirmations of Amazon. And I was like, all right, dope. I'm going to publish with Amazon, I suppose. So then it was super easy. Transitioning from like Google Docs into Word was really simple. And then uploading it to Amazon and then
going from there.
Getting it approved and published was really, really simple.
Nice. Yeah, I've heard stories of like some folks having like formatting issues or like their cover art not fitting correctly and all this stuff. But I suppose, because I know Amazon gives you like they give you pretty good detail about like what size and what stuff to include and all that. So
it's actually really funny about the cover art. The cover art, I really wanted my cousin who's an artist to like draw the cover art, and she drew this amazing picture, and I don't know why she just doesn't like me wanting her artwork for her stuff. And she was like, yeah, I know. And then she like threw it away, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna have to design my own cover art for this.
That's what I was gonna say. You did your own cover art as well.
Yeah,
so that's so
I
cool.
did. It's really like a 100,000% all my creations.
I love that. And now you can also say that you're like, not only are you a published author, but you can be like, I also design book covers. What's up?
Digital art book cover designer.
Right here. Get on board.
Do it all.
Did you do like, I don't know, I guess take me through your writing process. Did you set, because I'm always like really interested about people's process when it comes to writing, because mine is absolute shit. Like I will sit down and try to write at least once during the entire week, which if I can do that, I'm like, oh, that's good for me. But then other times I'll get on a kick and I'll just write. And then I like burn myself out and I stop again. So I have terrible writing habits. So I would love to hear kind of like how your writing process worked.
Sometimes it depends. Sometimes I'm really in like a, I guess, almost mechanical mindset, just like typing away. Based off of whatever I'm typing based off of. But then other times I'll get into a very emotional space and I'll be like, oh my God, I'm writing to this song and I can't like stop. So there's a chapter in the book I wrote, like the chapter title is in French, but I'm just going to say it in English because it's easy. It's called The Lives of God or The Lives of Gods or whatever, but it's in French. So it's like La Vie de Dieu or something. I wrote that part and I was like, sitting listening to a song and I was like, oh my God, I cannot not write right now. I have to write this right now. And so that happens sometimes.
That's like the best feeling though, like when you have those moments where you're like, ooh, this is gonna be good, and then you just sit down and you're like, those I live for those moments. Like
like when your arms are possessed and you can't stop.
I had another author on, Wendy Zuccarello. Sorry, Wendy. And she kind of explained it as the characters kind of just taking over and like writing their own story. And ever since she said that, I've been kind of like thinking about that. And I was like, I don't know if I've ever had that happen before. But then I was sitting down and writing, and I was just like in the zone. And I was like, this is what she's talking about, where like you're not overthinking about what you're writing. You don't really have a plan. Like it just goes, and it's the coolest thing.
I love writing to music. Music really like is the inspiration for everything.
Do you have a playlist for your book?
There was one song in particular that really a whole chapter came of that song. I had it on repeat, and I was like,
all the feels,
all the feelings. And it's probably like the framework for like half the story and like the rest of the entire thing. The song is by this very, very attractive man named Tamino, and the song is called Persephone. But it was otherworldly. I was like, how am I feeling the feelings?
I'm writing it down right now. I'm gonna check it out. I'm all about building playlists. Like my Spotify is literally just like playlists I've put together for things I'm working on. And you know,
I actually have a playlist for one very specific character, and that's the only playlist for any character that I have at all ever.
Sometimes you gotta have it though. Like the music, it helps. It like puts just brings like the mood to life.
Yeah, the vibes.
I love that. Yeah, that makes me happy. I'm glad other people like do that as well. Because I don't know, I'm always like, am I weird? I'm like building playlists for books and people that don't exist.
It's so nice. It's like Mary Poppins, like a spoonful of sugar makes the medicine go down.
A little bit of music makes the writing
easier. Yeah.
That's right. So I mean, it sounds like your self-publishing process, or like your writing process, and well, actually, let me back up a little bit. How long did it take you to write your book?
From the time I started to the time I published to like the day I published was 2 years exact to the day.
Oh wow, nice. That's not too bad. Yeah. I imagine the next ones will maybe go a little quicker since you've got one down and now you're let's go.
I think creating your own world is really, really difficult. I know like one book that inspired me was An Ember in the Ashes by Sabah Tahir. And she just created her own world. And I was like, I want to do that. I need to do that. I need to do the thing and like do that. And that started a whole desire to create a world of my own.
Yeah, that's a lot. Like when you see you pop open a fantasy or a sci-fi book and there's like maps and character names and pronunciations, like I don't know if I could. I don't know if I have like the brain capacity to build something like that. I think I would just like give up. It's so much. Like,
it's so a lot. Much. And like I probably have a whole thick ass folder just of like everything that went into this book. And I'm like, this is a fuck ton of shit. Like this is
amazing though. I love that. That's like I think it's so cool to be able to look at like version 1 versus version 10, or like the published. Like I don't know. I love that. It's you can see like physical. I don't know about you, but like I like to print and then read through it and like mark up pages and stuff. And so I have like different printed versions of my book, and I have those in folders. And every now and then I'll look back and I'll be like, wow,
Lord,
how far we've come.
Yeah, I almost started like a little portfolio for every character, like every like important character. I almost did that, and then I was like, that's too much work. I'm not gonna do that.
Once you start to, you're like, do I do one or do I do
it was a lot.
Do you use like any type of writing software, or do you just or you said Google Docs? You were just
Google Docs. It was just like plug and chug into Google Docs. They have the little headings and subheadings and all that stuff, and it was just easy.
Very cool. Yeah, I started using what was it called? Dabble.
Okay, I think I've heard of them.
I think it was Dabble. But it was really cool because you could build like character profiles and scenes and like do all of your world building in the app. And I actually used it for several years and then decided that I wasn't writing enough to pay for it. And I was like, no. But then there's like apps like Campfire, which I think a lot of like D&D folks use to do world building and all that. And so it's a neat little kind of program where you can build characters. And I don't know, sometimes I'll just go in there and play around.
It's actually really cool. But honestly, like if I just had reams and reams of blank white paper and just a shit ton of colored pencils, I could create my own world just with that alone.
Yes. Yes. I love that. Old school. Just going pencil, paper.
Yeah. You know, outline it in black pen. You're golden.
That would be beautiful. I'm like picturing it in my mind. And I'm like, that would be really pretty.
Yeah. Now I just need my cousin to hop on board because she's actually an artist and she could do that.
Be like, well, I'll give you credit. You'll be the illustrator. Come on now. Yeah, let's
come on.
I guess if you had to say like a con to self-publishing in general, like did you experience anything that was kind of like a downer, I guess, or a con compared to your overall experience?
I think like pricing was a little weird with like Kindle version versus print version and how like the metrics for pricing was. Because I had a person that was like, oh, I would buy it, but it's too expensive to print and for me to buy the print copy. And I was like, well, I can't do it below a certain thing or I can't make any money.
Yeah, you do have to kind of, I mean, I've put journals on Amazon and it's kind of the same thing where like if you want to make like any money at all, you have to like
hike up
quite a bit. And I'm like,
so I think that was the only con. Everything else was super easy.
Nice. If you had the opportunity to like get it printed locally, would you do that over Amazon or get it printed and then sell it on Amazon separately?
I'm very much a science person, so I would have to like compare apples to apples and even apples to oranges, apples to pears and all that stuff.
Yeah. How much energy?
What is better?
No, I got you.
I want to try and see if I can go to the Wilson Library and be like, hey, yo, you want to copy my book for the Wilson Library? I'm a Wilson writer.
You started the series as kind of a cathartic way to like deal with some stuff. As you were writing it over the last 2 years, did you discover anything or did you learn anything kind of about yourself while you were writing it?
Oh yeah, definitely. So I mean, this could be like a little peek into like my mentals as I was writing it. So I think like colors and like emotions associated with colors are very like important, and that could be like chakra healing or whatever. So like very specifically, like a certain number of characters are different, associated with different colors and different emotions based on those colors. So that's very like how I process a certain character's relationship with each of these characters is how I process like different emotions as I went throughout the years of writing it.
That's really interesting. And now when you say like a thing of colored pencils too, like I imagine you kind of writing each character in a different color, like the color that's
yeah. You know, almost
with them.
I don't know if you've read that. I don't even know what it's called anymore, but it was like a Persephone story, and it's like the Hades is blue and Persephone is pink, and like Lore Olympus or whatever. It was kind of like that, but like with different, like the entire spectrum of colors instead of just pink and blue.
I am going to have to introduce you to my friend of the pod, Katie. She's a huge Lore Olympus fan and could nerd out for hours about it. So
I'm very a Greek mythology, like Greek mythos. I'm a Hellenophile for sure.
Yeah, I'm right there. I am as well. But when it comes to like webtoons, Lore Olympus, I'm behind the times.
I'm very behind the times as well. I just happen to know what that one is called.
Yeah, well, and as soon as you mentioned it, that was what I pictured in my brain. So I was like, oh, I know Hades is blue, Persephone is pink. I know that comic.
Yeah, I know that one. I got that.
It's definitely interesting, kind of the figuring out how your own brain works through writing, definitely. Especially if you're like more of a process-based person, because you are like a scientific type of brain, I guess, or background, and then being able to just sit there and be like, oh, like how am I associating colors with people and emotions? And and portraying that in my story. So that's a really neat way.
Yeah, I remember I would like get home from like college and I would sit there and I would be like writing and I'd be like, this is like a massage for my brain.
If you're scratching that itch in your brain that
yeah, just in my brain.
Can't get to. I enjoy talking to people about their writing process so much because it's so interesting and everyone's like a little different. But like when it comes to the emotions behind writing, everyone kind of has that same like, I just have this story that I have to get out. Like it is in there and it is like clawing at the inside of my brain trying to get out. So like you got to just sit down and like let it spew out. So
most definitely.
It's so interesting.
And I think really I had all the names of the characters before I even wrote the story.
Did you were you like a big reader when you were little? Like did you read a lot of like, science fiction, fantasy type stuff, or what were you into?
I was a product of the dystopian era of reading and in my youth. So definitely like all of the Twilight things in middle school, all of the like Divergent series, like what's it called? The Hunger
Games.
All of those things. I still have all of those books in my room.
I mean, Twilight's a classic. That's all I gotta say. And it's making a comeback these days.
The books were way better than the movies.
You know, we used to read those books out loud to each other. And this makes me feel a little old, but they came out when I was out of college already.
Oh Lord.
So, but we used to read them to each other just for shits and giggles. So
yeah.
Good books.
I think my older sister gave them to me to read, and I was like, I'm in love.
Good choices, though. Like, can't go wrong with like a post-apocalyptic dystopian.
No way. And then I love the Divergent series, and my favorite actor actually played Eric in the Divergent series, and he just is very good at playing evil men.
Jai?
Yeah, Jai Courtney is my favorite.
Yes. I mean, he does play evil men quite well. I was thinking of him in the Suicide Squad.
I can't spoil the second Suicide Squad for anybody if they haven't seen it, but it made me mad.
Yes, I concur.
I think I was like 7 minutes in and I was crying.
Yeah. There were a lot of those moments in that movie. I was like, no. So you're currently working on your next book, right?
Yes, I am.
Can you give us a little like tidbit of what it's going to be about? A little preview? Or are you working on a prequel or sequel?
It is definitely a prequel. So without giving too much away, the current book is Tales of the Ouroboros, and the Ouroboros is like a group of people. And then the second, or the prequel, so I guess it's book 0, is the one who murdered the serpent. And so the serpent is the Ouroboros. So without giving too much away,
you get the story leading up to book 1. Okay. Now I'm just like, I just really need to read the book because it sounds like. Did you know that you were going to do a sequel or a prequel as you were writing? Or was it just kind of like as you finished, you were like, all right, now I got to tell the story? I
guess as I was finishing up the first book, like the actual like meat of everything, the book, I was like, the one who murdered the serpent was actually supposed to be a chapter title. And then I was like, you know what? This would be better as like another book. Also, might as well make it another book.
The one who murdered the serpent. Like, that's a good name.
Yeah.
So this is another question I was thinking about, because you actually wrote under a pen name.
I did.
And what's the pen name?
It's CC Manning. So it's, my middle name is Catherine, so that's 1 C, and then the last name of a character is another C, and then my mom's maiden name is Manning.
Oh, nice.
So that's CC Manning.
Did you, besides like having it relate to characters in your mom, like did you know that you were going to use a pen name, or was there a specific reason to use it?
Not very a specific reason. I was just kind of like, I don't know if a lot of people like me. I don't know. Maybe people don't like me. There's a line in a Logic song, and he's like, "There's a lot of people don't like me. Probably want to fuck me," and I'm like, "Oh shit, that's me."
You're like, Chuck. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I'd heard years ago, like a lot of sci-fi writers and fantasy writers that are women will actually use like pen names that are more masculine, because people are less likely to read a sci-fi book or a fantasy book that's written by a woman than they will a man. And so when I saw that you went with CC Manning, I was like, oh, I wonder, like, because unfortunately, it makes sense that people are like that. I was like, good choice. Let's go with the pen name.
It's very more... like an Irish dude name, like a very white Irish name.
Yeah.
Unintentional.
Hilarious. It's a good pen name, though. I was like,
yeah, thank you.
It's a good one. I have thought about using pen names, and I'm like, I can barely come up with character names. I gotta come up with a pen name. Shit.
Yeah, but like my pen name is so closely related to my actual name. It's like, unless you actually knew me, like my whole name, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Have you like told your friends about your book? Did you like?
Yeah, I have. Like I've been like going to campaigning all around town. Shoot.
Awesome. You're like, hey, buy my book.
Buy my book. Buy it.
Oh my gosh. So I guess lastly, as we start wrapping up, do you have any advice for other people that are looking to self-publish? Like any advice that you wish you had known going into it?
Probably just like check and double check and triple check what you're doing. You know, like I went and waited until I had like 4 or 5 different confirmations of Amazon before I used Amazon.
Also, another random question. Did you have anyone like edit it or like look at it before you published it, or were you just like
completely, but like myself, like Microsoft Word?
I mean, people do it all the time. I was just curious because that's like my big thing. I'm like, oh, do I have to get it edited? Should I get it edited, or should I
asked my aunt, who's a creative writing major, like master's in creative writing. I asked her, I was like, can you read this and like and edit it? And she was like, I'll get to it. And I was like, bump that. I'll do it myself.
You're like, yeah, it's taking too long.
It's taking too long.
I like that. I'm always so impressed by people who can just like create something and then let it go. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I'm one who will sit on it and revise over and over again. So it's so impressive to
also
put it out there.
In Microsoft Word, they have like a little score thing to where you can like type it and it'll be like, oh, your paper or your essay or your book has a 90% score. Do this to fix it.
Really?
And get a quote unquote 100% score, or at least on my MacBook is what it does.
I'm like, look, I'm looking at my Word right now. I'm like, where is this? I don't see it online.
It just pops up in the right hand corner. I don't know. That's what it did for me. It might be a different edition of Microsoft Word, but
yeah, I'm probably running on something old. Cool. That's super helpful.
Yeah, it was really helpful. So like before editing, it was at a 90%. And I was like, that's what I got in my college writing class.
I was like, okay, some of us don't need help. I definitely do. I use Grammarly, and it's to die for. It's like the best editing software I've ever used in my life. So advice would be look into whether Amazon is the best platform for you.
Yeah. And definitely like, I was like, look, God, Jesus, universe, people in the ether, just let me know. Let me know what would be best. Like confirm it, affirm it, please, because I don't know what to do.
Yeah, I everything I've heard, Amazon is the way to go. They have that new thing now too. What is it called? Amazon or something, where you can release things like chapter by chapter. It's almost like Wattpad-esque.
I would not want to do that. I don't think.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I very much like to have the whole thing done and then like work around if I need to work around.
Yeah. I have to write the entire thing, get it perfect, well, quote unquote perfect, and then release it one episode or one chapter at a time. Because I couldn't do the like, I'm going to sit down, write one chapter, put that up, have another one done.
Yeah.
By next week. No, I couldn't do that.
No.
I could not do that. Absolutely.
It's almost like writing for TV.
Oh,
like when TV was not bingeable.
Yeah, that's a whole other game. Well, so we already know that you're working on the prequel. And is there anything else that you're working on? You said like a little like a poetry book.
Yeah, like a little poetry. So the poetry stuff, it's like chunked by year. So this will be like 2020, 2021 into 2022.
Very cool. In my mind, I'm seeing it as like, I don't know, when you said it was chunked into like years, I imagine like records with the year on the.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. Like coming out of the sleeve and then
just
putting it down and letting the poetry play.
Definitely. And that's really a passion project too. Like whenever I need to feel something, I'm just like,
Why do we do that though? Why do we're like, I just want to feel, even though we oftentimes are feeling too much. But then we're like, you know what? I'm going to make myself cry.
Yeah. And then like you'll go back and read it like a year, 2 years, 3 years later, and you're like, oh my God.
What was happening?
I don't know. But then you know exactly what was happening because you were there.
Gosh, why are we like this? Where can folks find you? Where can we follow along with like your writing journey?
Literally, I don't post anything about like writing except for just the promotion for the book. Like I posted on Snapchat and like Twitter and Instagram stories. I was like, book,
buy it, please.
Do the thing. But I guess my socials is the Black Sarah with 2 H's on the end. And that is everything. Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter.
Yeah, well, I'll put your socials in the episode description, and then I'll also include a link to your book so that folks can pick it up if they want to. Highly recommend. Like I said, I already have my copy. I have added it to my list, my ever-growing list of books to read. But like I said, I'm gonna bump it up the list a little bit. So
I'm honored. I'm honored. Thank you.
And I love a good like sci-fi fantasy. Like my dog was named Grimm after the Brothers Grimm. So I gotta dig into it. Yeah, so I'll include all of that in the episode description. And like Sarah said, her Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, all of it is Black Sarah, 2 H's. And I can't thank you enough for being on today.
Oh man, thank you so much. I hope to see you around town more often.
Yeah, I gotta get out. I was waiting for the yellow tide of pollen to die down.
Oh God, the allergies have been so bad this season. It's so bad.
I literally thought there was a dust storm the other day, and I was like, oh no, that's pollen blowing through the air, not dust. And I was appalled.
Dude, it's crazy.
It is not good. It is not good at all. But again, can't thank you enough. And I have loved learning more about your writing journey and your books and your poetry, which again, I'm so excited I'll be getting that one too, probably when you publish it. So I'm excited for that. Listeners, thank you for tuning in today. If you have questions, comments for me or any of my guests, including Sarah, you can text or call us on our hotline, 252-419-6004, and you can leave a voice message or send us a text, and we will answer your questions on a future episode of the podcast. And be sure to like, rate, and review. Ta-da!
Thanks for listening to the Wandering Creatives Podcast, a CEI media production. Please like, rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast as it helps us greatly. You can follow us on Instagram at Wandering Creatives Pod and on Facebook at Wandering Creatives Podcast. If you would like to support the podcast, you can become a Patreon for just $5 a month. The link is in the episode description.